Welcome to the Moody's Tire and Auto Football Extra.
Where honesty and service comes first.
Serving Williamson County for over 70 years. Visit us at Moody's Tire for all your tire and automotive needs.
Stop by and see us at 1600 Columbia Avenue.
Well, hello everybody and welcome into the Week 12 edition of the Moody's Tire and Auto Prep Football Extra. I'm Joe Williams, the sports editor of the Williamson Herald, along with our expert, Maurice, Patton, and we'll call it Week 12. It's actually Week 1 again, if you want to think about it, Week 1 of the playoffs. Maurice, a lot of teams are going to be playing on Friday night, and it may be the last night for some.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, it's that win or go home thing. I guess that's why you got the jacket out. Huh?
Yeah, you know, it's that time of year you got to get prepared and ready.
I wish you had told everybody that we were getting prepared.
Well, actually, it's an accident that I'm prepared. You should know that by now. We are visiting once again the folks at J. Fred Page High School out on Arno Road. And Maurice, the Patriots last week went down to Marshall County, chance to win the regional title. Didn't quite work out. Strange game in many ways, and I got to cover that one. But they're back. They get to be at home anyway. Finished second in Region 4, Class 4A. Get ready, you'll need a scorecard to keep the classes together. But they'll get to be at home against an East Hamilton team that I think is 6-4 coming in. And you got to feel pretty good for the Patriots.
I feel real good for the Patriots.
Yeah.
I think, you know, they lost to a Marshall County team 42-24 in Lewisburg. Marshall County's really good.
Yeah.
And I don't think that really dampens anything Page has done so far this year. Prior to that game, they lost two games by a total of 2 points, one of those in overtime, and we've seen video that maybe disputes one of those. But you know, I like the way they're playing. We just talked to Coach Rathbone here a second ago, though. They're a little beat up. They're not going to have Trevor Johnson, who is one of their top receivers, one of their top defensive backs. Yeah, and so you hope that East Hamilton's a running team. But regardless, I just like the way this Page team plays, particularly on offense. And when you've got Michael Roberts on both sides of the ball, you're going to have a chance, I think.
He was an absolute beast last week down in Lewisburg, I got to tell you. You need a couple of breaks, and I thought they were a little tight. Michael Magochi early had some passes kind of sail high. Didn't get a whole lot of help, didn't get a whole lot of protection early. And then when the line got better and he got throwing bombs and putting them in the right place, folks couldn't hang on to him. So it was one of those perfect storms. If it could happen, it went bad. I think they learned a lot from that, and I think they're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I like the way they're playing right now. I like the schedule that they played. I think they're ready for this moment here at home on Friday night, and I think they're going to be all right.
Yeah. Let's just go ahead and drop down a class to 3A, where Fairview gets to be at home. I don't know how many years in a row, was it 7, 8 years in a row now, that Chris Hughes has taken his team to the playoffs. Maybe not as
sharp?
As they've been in years past, but that could change quickly.
It could change quickly. I think, again, they started out kind of slow, ran off a few wins, ran into a tough Camden team that's probably going to make some noise here in 3A as well. But again, you've got Hunter Zimmerman, who's got a lot of experience at quarterback. You've got Jake Beathard, who had a big game last week, and they spread the ball around in the passing game. Now, can they compete with Stratford's speed? Corey Simmons, who's going to touch the ball a lot for Stratford, is one of the top sprinters in the state of Tennessee. You got to keep him bottled up. They've got a big quarterback, Josh Trueheart, who likes to throw it around. Got to keep him bottled up and cover on the edge as well. If they can do that, I think they got a shot.
A couple things you've got to remember. Now, Stratford's an old school that I love to hate anyway. They're an old rival of ours. But the fact of the matter is, you're talking about Maurice Fitzgerald taking over the coaching duties this year. That team has struggled and struggled and struggled the past 4 or 5 years. Fitzgerald, who has a gold ball to his credit, shows up, and all of a sudden, they're 7-3. They've got kids out that are playing. They're in the playoffs. I mean, this is big for these kids.
It's absolutely big for these kids. And like you said, he's gone over there. He's given them some confidence. I think just him walking in the door gives them some confidence, gives that program some credibility. And you know, Stratford is a name that a lot of people recognize around here, and not just around here. So, I mean, it's not like they've never been good before. They're back to it. This is just the start. This is his first year there. He's got them 7-3 going on the road. And I talked to him earlier this week, and it's like they've not been in the playoffs for so long that there's no pressure for them. It's just another ball game.
Yeah.
And that could make them dangerous.
Throw a couple of names, though, just to throw names. Joe Campbell, Corey Fleming, Michael Coleman.
Arcente
Broom and some others.
There's some names.
They've had some kids come through.
They've had some kids come through there. They've had some talent come through there. They've had some good ball clubs. I mean, this is a program that went 22-3 over a 2-year period a few years ago.
That's right.
So, they are not necessarily foreign to good football.
They're learning to win again, and that's dangerous for everybody in that region up in Nashville. Let's go to Class 6A, where a couple of games going on right here in Franklin. Actually, one in Brentwood, if you want to be specific, and that's Ravenwood. Boy, tell you what, 9-1, and they've got the unenviable task of facing a 3-7 team out of Memphis. Why is that unfavorable or not good? Because that bunch has nothing to lose when they come up here.
Exactly. I mean, I can only imagine all the trick plays and that kind of thing that you're going to see in a ball game like that, because we're not supposed to win anyway. We're not supposed to. Well, they are supposed to be here because everybody in 6A goes to the playoffs. But, why not? Double reverse pass? Why not? Fake punt? Why not?
Bartlett's 3-7, but they're a team who has playoff history in their past. It's not like this is a team that's walking in that's never done anything.
Right. And, that's part of it. When you start getting that far out that early, you're going to run into some teams that, even if they don't necessarily have great records, they're teams with a background and a history and that kind of thing. And so, obviously Ravenwood has to be on their P's and Q's, but you feel like they're 9-1. Their only loss was to a Centennial team that we're going to talk about in a minute. But they feel pretty good about the way they're playing right now, and you got to think they're going to take care of business this week.
Interesting point. They lost that one game to Centennial in almost an ambush. I mean, it was pretty bad, and it just seemed to make them stronger. It kind of brought some heat that may have forged the steel, and I want to work on that a little more in a minute. But let's go to the other 6A game. Houston coming to Franklin. The Rebels, second in the region, 7-3. Houston coming up from Memphis at 1-9.
1-9, but
1-9 and in the playoffs.
But that one of those 9 is a 22-20 loss to Henry County in week 2. And we saw some of Henry County last week. That's not a bad ball club. So for them to play Henry County to a 2-point ball game earlier in the year makes me think they've had some injuries or something like that. I'm not sure, but you don't want to overlook anybody, but it'd be easy to overlook 1-9. Thing is, we don't know exactly who Franklin is right now because they still are kind of dealing with the fact that Lanham Craddock is
down.
out.
Yeah.
And so Matthew Burns came in last week, had a big game for him over at Lebanon, but that was Lebanon. And so now, it's playoffs, starts to count. What are you going to get out of that running game? And it's going to be important for them because that's kind of where their bread is buttered. So they're going to need to be able to run the ball. Burns is going to have to come up big again this week. Kyle Evans, the quarterback, is going to have to come up big both with his feet and with his arm.
And that defense is going to have to keep doing what they've been doing. And they have really improved over the last 3 weeks. Speaking of defense, think about Centennial. The Cougars, winners of their region, get to be at home for this one, bringing in Southwind again from the Memphis area. And Centennial comes in 9-1, and just as we talked about the loss that Ravenwood took to Centennial, kind of an ambush that was ugly, the early season ambush that Centennial took at Independence, quite frankly, was more than a little bit ugly. And I remember Coach Brian Rector saying then that, come Monday, we start all over. We start from scratch, and we're just going to rebuild this entire thing. They did, and they've run off 8 straight.
8 straight.
8 straight.
Yeah, they started all over, and I guess in his mind they're 8-0.
Yeah.
And huge win over Henry County the other night. And what kills me about this? They're 9-1. They're a region champ. They're catching a Southwind team, a 4th seeded Southwind team that's 8-2.
But that's because 3 of the teams in that one team, and I've forgotten who the winner of the region was. Brighton was undefeated or had 1 defeat. There were 3 teams that finished 5-2 in the region, and they beat each other by 2 points.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it was that round robin thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
this is not a pushover.
No, not at all. And so it's not your typical 1-4 matchup.
No.
And so again, Centennial's got to be sharp. What I like about Centennial is last couple of weeks they've thrown the ball. thrown it a lot, thrown it well.
Yep.
And, you know, Tristan Piscani, who got hurt earlier in the year, is doing a heck of a job back there. He's in the pocket. He moves around a little bit. He's keeping his eyes up when he does move around, making plays down the field. Devious Chrisman and Austin Waddell making plays for him out on the edge. Chrisman made a catch on the sideline the other night that is one of the best catches I've seen at any level. I mean, he went up over a kid. He got his feet taken out from under him. He landed. He folded, landed on his shoulder and neck, held onto the ball. Wow. Big play. I mean, and he's a big kid. He's a big target. And Waddell on the other side is the same way. They like throwing it to Rashawn McLemore as well down the middle. And Tyrell Dotson.
As his Tyrell threw one tonight.
Well, he threw one, but he caught one as well. He got down the seam and made a big catch. So this kid just continues to amaze with what he can do athletically. I mean, you'd think he's a linebacker, and you see he's 6'2", 235, but a couple weeks ago he had an 87-yard kickoff return. He had a big catch the other night, and
can run the ball.
Oh, no doubt. So, you know, Southwind's going to have to account for him as well, and not just on defense.
If they stick with just him, they're in trouble. The other 5A team in this area, of course, Brentwood. Brentwood in the playoffs after a couple of years, and Ron Crawford.
Don't act surprised.
Well, I was going to say, Ron Crawford comes back, his first year back. The Bruins are going to the playoffs. Kind of looked for it, didn't really expect it, probably should have. They're 5-5, but they won the games that they had to. But they're on the road. They got to go to Memphis to play Memphis Central in good old Crump Stadium. It's been rebuilt, torn down 2 or 3 times right there in the middle of town.
You know, you knew Crawford was going to have an impact on that program. He's taken those seniors, the few seniors that they've got, he's put some young guys around them, little inexperienced, gave them a lot of confidence. They're playing well right now. But Brentwood also caught a break in that Clarksville had to forfeit those games earlier this year, and they would have been one of the 4 teams because they started out, what, 5-0, 6-0, something like that, and they would have been a playoff team, and Brentwood probably would have been the odd team out. But at the same time, can't blame that on Brentwood. They're going to go down to Memphis, and we'll see what happens. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking about Brentwood again next week.
I don't think I'd be too surprised to see that either. And as far as being the odd team out, remember, there are 2 teams, one a regional champion out of Memphis, who won't be in the playoffs this year. They're serving probation for a couple of late season fights last year.
Hate when that happens.
Yeah, me too. That's just one of those things. The other 5A team in this area, ranked number 1 in the state, you know them best as the Eagles, Independence down in Thompson Station, and Scott Blade owns a gold ball, wants another one. And, you know, they're 10-0. How do you argue against them? But they got Cane Ridge coming. Cane Ridge comes out of the Nashville area with an 8-2 record, and they're not a bad football team. This could be a very good test for them.
This will tell you everything you need to know about Cane Ridge. Hillsboro won that Region 6-5A down there. Cane Ridge beat them. So, like you said, that's a good ball club. They got a first-year coach in Eddie Woods, who was down at Memphis Melrose before, played at Tennessee State. They're playing awfully well. Got a lot of confidence again, and I've said that a lot here in this video cast, but there's something to that, because when you're playing with confidence, things happen that go against you, and you feel like you're going to find a way to make things go back in your direction, and I kind of think that's where Cane Ridge is right now. Played in a tough region. Like I said, they beat Hillsboro, they lost to Beach and Hendersonville, but they played a tough schedule, and if Indy isn't on their toes, they could find themselves in a dogfight, which is something new for them relative to the last few weeks when they've been beating people 56-14 and 49-16 and 42-7. So, you know, I talked to Scott Blade a few weeks ago about that, and he was a little concerned that his, starters weren't going 4 quarters and that kind of thing, and how they're going to react when they are in a 4-quarter ball game. And so that's something that they've got to be ready for, because it could be this Friday night.
I think it might well be this Friday night. Now, that's all the Division I schools. Let's look at Division II, where in Class AA, Brentwood Academy, the number 1 team in the state in that category, 91 on the season, gets the night off.
They get to sit back and watch.
Well, everybody made the playoffs, and there's not enough to make a whole bracket, so, there are a couple of them get the night off. The pleasures of being in Division II AA. Now, Division to 1A.
There you go.
Different story. Pretty much everybody's in. Ones we're trying to follow, BGA, the Wildcats. After a great start, suffering some losses late, injuries have just about killed them. And now they find themselves on the road going down to Memphis to face Harding Academy.
Yeah, and I think midway through the season, they wouldn't have expected to be on the road this early. But like you said, they've had some tough injuries. They've had a couple of season-ending injuries, had some tough losses. Lost to Franklin Road Academy the other night. And all of a sudden, a team that you felt like was probably a lock to go back to Cookeville for the second year in a row is part of a group of teams. And I'd say there's maybe 6 or 8 teams that you could throw in a hat and draw any 2 out and not be surprised if those were the 2 that wound up in Cookeville. I mean, you got BGA, you got FRA, they call it alphabet soup. You got DCA, Davidson, Friendship is lurking out there. So I think Division 2A is as wide open this year as it has been in some time.
It's as even as ever been.
It's not Knoxville Webb and everybody else. In fact,
they're traveling on the road to go to USJ, yeah. Alphabet soup.
You can't get there from here.
Well,
actually you can because it's 40 all the way, but good Lord.
It's after you get off of 40.
Yeah.
Well, you figure it's 3 from Knoxville. It's a 5-hour drive for them.
One way.
Think about that.
And then you got to get off and play a football game.
And then go back.
Yeah, so.
But we're not going to talk about re-regioning and reclassifications or anything like that.
Well, the thing is, though, in Division 2A, I don't think there's any way around that.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're talking
there's not a lot of schools.
When you're talking about the number of schools and where they are, that's just kind of, it is what it is. So there you go.
Yeah, just like Brentwood, Centennial, Henry County. Sure, it just is what it is. All right, that's going to kind of wrap it up before we get thrown out of here. Week 1 of the playoffs, nobody knows what's going to happen. In all honesty, we'll keep you up to date on what's going on Friday night at all of the Twitter spots you see flowing down in front of me like they did last week. I was pretty impressed by that, by the way. And don't forget,
did he bring it down across your face?
Oh, yes, sir. He was very good at it. And don't forget to follow us, obviously, online at WilliamsonHerald.com. That's where you'll get everything, hopefully Friday night, score-wise, story-wise, picture-wise, video-wise, sometimes Saturday morning, if Charles Pulliam can remain vertical and conscious. Because last week, I don't think either one of us stayed vertical and conscious.
Or conscious, huh?
Yeah, after about 4:30, I think we were both done. But that's then, this is now. For Maurice, Patton, and Charles Pulliam, I'm Joe Williams. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you've had as much fun as we have on this edition.
I'll try to remember my jacket.
Yeah, do that. Week. You know, if you need to borrow one of them, I got like 8.
Will they fit?
They're probably big on you. I'm Joe Williams. We'll see you next week on the Moody's Tire and Auto Football Extra.